Miler in the air starts now. Today's main event, going to the Maldives. Is it worth it?
Great question. We should ask somebody who's been
Yeah,
recently.
recently. Like, we should talk to someone who's on their way home from a Maldives trip.
You know, you're in luck, Greg. I've got just such an interview lined up today.
Really?
With us.
With us.
With us.
That'll be us. We're in the air, talking Maldives. It's a long way. Like, not just a little bit long.
No.
It's really.
Really.
It
like we got on our first flight like 2 days ago and we're still not home.
Yeah, yeah. I've probably had a few birthdays. So, mailbag time. Giant mailbag time.
All right.
So we have the giant mailbag with us in the airplane, but it's like in my luggage. So
you have to imagine is what he's saying.
So we don't have any giant mail. We're mailless.
Mailless. No mail today. Okay.
No.
All right. So there's no mail. So how about then we go with what crazy thing did...
Yeah, I don't know that we can do that segment either.
Thing either. Okay, so how about the mattress running the numbers? Should we talk about?
No. I mean, we shouldn't because we don't know much about it. But Steven wrote a neat post about stacking Radisson promos. There's some stuff going on there, and if you like your Radisson points, you should check it out. The latest promo, I think you get a lot of points.
When you spend
when
money.
you stay twice, and then there's another promo where you get a lot of points for each stay.
I see.
Those overlap.
Okay.
So if you add those up, it adds up to
stackage there.
A lot of points.
I see. Well, that's good, and we like a lot of points.
So we did the math
because we know that the Radisson points are so useful. We both we've been getting lots of use out of our Radisson. Lots of use in cancellation. Okay. All right.
Jibber jabber about
let's get to the main event.
All right.
Let's get to the main event.
So the reason the Maldives is the main event is because it's been on our mind a lot. Why has it been on our mind? Obviously, we were there. We loved it. But we keep going back and forth as we talk about it. Are we going to come back? And the question isn't, is it great? It is.
Right. I mean, it's gorgeous. It's beautiful.
We were at the Le Méridien.
You saw the pictures, right?
Yeah. I mean, if you've seen any of our social media, you've seen the pictures from the Maldives. If you've read our blog posts, you've seen pictures. It's beautiful, and Le Méridien is particularly very good, and
service was fantastic.
Service was unbelievable,
top notch.
And Overwater Villas at such a cheap points rate is ridiculous. It's such a good deal. But all that said, it goes back to: are you willing to fly? It's like 23 hours or whatever it is. I mean, it's going to vary depending on your route, where you're starting from, but it's a long, long way.
Yeah, I mean, there's not like a direct flight. You're going to connect somewhere, and it's probably not going to be somewhere super convenient. And just going to Dubai, in each direction, we had like a 7 or 8 hour layover.
Yeah.
So, you match that with another layover to get to the Maldives or something, and it just becomes a long, long ride.
It's nuts. So when you start thinking about how long it is, you start thinking about things like, is it really that much better than going to Hawaii, which is a long way, but a heck of a lot less of a long way than the Maldives from the U.S., especially the West Coast. I mean, the West Coast, you get to Hawaii in like 5 hours, 5.5 hours, something like that. But anyway, even for the East Coast, it's much closer. And then you start thinking, well, what about Mexico or Central America or the Caribbean? Yeah. There's lots of nice places you could go. Is the Maldives worth it? Do we really want to go so far? So we don't know the answer, do we?
I don't think there's not an easy answer. This is the second time I've been. I obviously planned another trip here. This time, so obviously I found it to be worth going back. But would I go another time? I mean, I would really love to go to Le Méridien if there was an easier way to get there. If it wasn't so long, then I would say yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
But the combination of distance, the cost of the seaplane transfer, I mean, minimum from the U.S. you're talking 3 flights, right? Because you got to take 2 flights minimum to get to the Maldives, and
Yeah.
then the seaplane on top of that.
Oh,
So you're
I see what
talking
you're
a
saying.
minimum of 3 flights
Right.
each way. You might be on 4 or 5 flights.
Right.
So that's especially when you add in all the layovers and everything else, you're just exhausted by the time you get there,
Exactly.
and exhausted when you get back home. Is it worth all that? I think, I was asking Greg yesterday, and I think that you hit the nail on the head when you said it's worth it if the journey is part of the luxury.
Yeah.
So what did you mean?
If the journey's part of the experience, if so, for someone who hasn't flown business class before, um, the journey is like exciting in itself, right?
Right.
Those flights are something to look forward to, and or even if you've only flown it like 1 or 2 times, you're probably still feeling that way. For me, it takes first class to get excited about it, to where the journey is part of the adventure of my trip. But so either way, for those of us who are kind of jaded because we've been doing this a while, you know, it's still exciting to me to fly like we did Emirates first, or even though I've flown Lufthansa first a few times, it's still exciting to do it. I'd still happily do it again. And so if I can get there, and a lot of the way there is on those kind of flights, I think it's totally worth it. It because that's part of your adventure.
Right. I mean, if you're flying 12 or 14 or 15 hours to get to Dubai in Emirates first class, I mean, that definitely is part of the destination, in the sense that you are looking forward to the luxury of the food and the drink and the service on that flight, and the service on the ground and the lounge and blah blah blah.
Right.
And so if all of those things get you excited and you're like, yes, I can't wait to get on the plane,
Right.
then the Maldives is for you. If you're like, I can't wait to get to the destination, I don't really care how I get there, I just want to get there the fastest way possible, then the Maldives is probably not for you.
It seems
right?
it seems like there's other places you should go.
Right.
And I guess there's probably exceptions, because if you're into scuba diving and you really want to, visit some known dive locations, then obviously you're going to go as far as you need to go to do those. But for the average traveler who just wants to get away, do some snorkeling, sit on the beach, it does seem kind of ridiculous to go so far.
It does, but then on the flip side, you have the whole overwater villa thing, because there are just not very many places in the world where you can stay in an overwater villa. If that's your thing, that's what you want. You've just got Bora Bora, the Maldives, and a couple of exceptions here and there in other places, right?
Well, I guess it kind of goes back to what I was saying about business class before, which is it's one of those things where if you haven't done it before, maybe that also makes it worth the trip. So maybe we're really discussing, is it worth returning to the Maldives, right? I mean, that's what's been on our minds. I keep going back and forth personally. Like, I really do want to revisit Le Méridien. I also really want to try a number of other resorts in the Maldives. But then I think about what I was saying earlier. Like, there's all kinds of places I haven't been in the Caribbean that would be so much easier to get to. Why wouldn't I do that first? And part of the answer is, well, you don't get overwater bungalows in the Caribbean. You don't get them in Mexico. Right. There might be some things that are kind of like it, but it's just not the same.
Not the same concentration, at the very least. Not where in the Maldives you have one resort after another with those overwater bungalows, and you don't get that in very many places. I mean, it's like Bora Bora, the Maldives, and that's it. I mean, those are the two places I know where there's an endless supply of resorts with that type of experience. I enjoyed that. It was nice.
I loved it. I mean, these didn't have the glass bottoms that we see on some reviews of overwater bungalows, where you can look down at the fish from your room. But I mean, I spent more time out on my deck where the water's right there than I did in my room, except for sleeping.
Right.
So, glass floor, I wouldn't have seen that anyway while I was sleeping.
Hopefully not. If you do, then
I don't.
You're sleeping and shouldn't be in an overwater bungalow for your own safety.
Yeah, sleepwalkers, stay away from them.
But I mean, and I posted a video of a stingray that I was just outside and saw it swimming by, and was able to climb right in the water and get a great video and an awesome experience just being a few feet away. So
Yeah.
you're not going to get that directly from your room in any place that's not
Not too
like an
many
overwater
places.
bungalow. There's only a few options. So
Right.
so if you're into that, then it may be worth going for that.
Yeah.
But then is it worth returning is a very good question. So
Yeah.
so what are the luxurious options to get to the Maldives that you would be like, okay,
Yeah.
maybe that would be enough.
Right.
If I got
right.
that availability, that would do it.
Right, right. Well, I mentioned Lufthansa, and the reason that, to me, Lufthansa is worth returning to, first class, that is more to do with the ground experience than the in-flight. I mean, in-flight is very nice, but their ground experience, when you transit through Germany, which you have to do, is phenomenal. I mean, they have such a high standard for the whole experience for first class passengers that, to me, it really makes a difference and makes it worth like looking forward to.
Well, so now that gives me a tag-on question here. Is it that way if you're connecting to business? Because if you're going to go to the Maldives, you'll fly first class between the U.S. and Europe,
Yeah.
but they're only going to fly a 2-cabin plane to the Maldives from Europe,
Yeah.
so you're going to connect to a business class flight.
Right. No, that's good. That's a great question. You'll get some of that experience. So when you're trying to remember how it works, but I think the way it works is if you're arriving in first class and connecting to business, you still go into the lounge. In fact, I've done that. So you still get into a first class lounge. Frankfurt has both a first class terminal, which is its own thing, and first class lounges. And as far as I could tell, the experience is very, very similar between the two. The first class terminal usually involves a ride in a Porsche to get there, I guess, that you might not get. It's complicated, but the thing is, I think you'd be pretty darn good anyway.
Okay.
It would still be a good experience, and then coming back, you would probably be in the first class terminal and get the full experience. So should be good.
And one of the advantages with Lufthansa, as I wrote about in the post this week, is that because it will be a mixed cabin award where you're going to fly a long distance in business and a decent distance in first class also, booking through Avianca Life Miles can be a great deal because Avianca Life Miles would charge 87,000 points one way to Europe in first class. But if you continue on to the Maldives in business class, depending on your starting point distances, it's going to work out to be just a few thousand miles more, maybe 92,000 miles or 94,000 miles one way, maybe a little more, a little less, depending on where you originate. So it's going to be a very small number of miles of additional miles to travel much farther and get that experience. So.
Okay, so I threw out one of them, and I've got others in my head, but let's go to you now. What's on top of your mind?
I mean, you mentioned Emirates before, and Emirates would clearly be the one I would be most excited about. I enjoy flying Emirates first class. The experience is awesome. The food, the drink, the service typically is quite good. So that would be my pick. It would also be my pick because it would be a more direct route. Connecting via Europe is going to add a little bit more time than connecting via Dubai. So that would be my pick, except it's going to cost a bunch more miles. So really the only feasible way to book Emirates first class these days is through Emirates Skywards, and that's going to cost you $160,000 one way plus the tax. So
that's for one person.
That's for one person. So you're talking $320,000 round trip for one person, more than $500,000. You need, and Emirates Miles for two people. That is to say, Emirates Miles are relatively easy to come by because they're transfer partners with so many different programs. But that's still, for the number of miles you would use on that, you could stay at, for example, a Virgin Limited property, not Necker Island, right? But like 600,000 will get you one of those safari lodges in Africa. And think of you could do a few ANA round the world trips for that amount of points in business class. So. It's hard to say.
The flip side is, at least I have the impression, and you can tell me if I'm totally off base here, that Emirates First is kind of a lot easier to get availability than most of the other first class products.
It's true. And not only is it a little bit easier to get, but also I think as you get closer to departure, it gets even easier. It's not bad far in advance, and it's even
Right,
easier the
right.
closer
As
you
we
get.
saw, like, so
Yeah.
we had a specific flight that we needed based on all the other things going on. And so we initially booked business class and just kept watching it, and first class opened up
Right.
shortly, what, about 5 days before?
Yeah, about
or
that.
something
5 days
that.
before. Yep.
So, yeah, that's great. Um,
Okay. What else?
so another one I would be, well, all right. I would have said I'd be really excited to return to Etihad first class apartments if they're still flying them. To
That
my
were only
knowledge,
an
I don't
option.
think they're flying
No,
them
I
right
don't
now
think they're
anymore.
flying the
So
A380
it's
at all right now.
unclear if they're going to do that again. I mean, that was my best in-flight experience when I flew Etihad first class apartments. So if they do bring that back, I mean, it wouldn't even be a question. That's what I would want to do.
Well, I mean, I think that's a great point. And Etihad also, even in their non-apartments, I've flown their first class that wasn't apartments, and the service, in my experience, my one experience, was also fantastic and
Yeah.
a great experience. So I think that's still one that's worth keeping in mind. It will cost you 115,000 points one way with American Airlines, or 130,000 one way with Aeroplan. You could add a stopover with Aeroplan, though, for 5,000 more miles one way, so
Yeah.
135K. Still kind of pricey, not quite as pricey as Emirates. So, it's not going to be cheap if you want that level of luxury, but it's another great experience.
Yeah.
All right, so that's another good one. One that we're leaving out because we're talking about first class that I think we shouldn't leave out of this conversation is Qatar Q Suites.
Yeah, for sure.
Because it looks to be an experience very similar to first class on board the plane anyway, in terms of the seat and the service and the food.
Right.
So, and much cheaper. We're talking 70,000 American Airlines miles one way for Qatar Q Suites. So
that's amazing.
140 round trip.
Right.
That's a deal worth considering, and also something that's, I think, often much easier to find availability for.
I mean, just think about how amazing that is. 140,000 round trip for Qatar all the way to the Maldives from the States. Compare that to United. If you want to fly business class on one of their partners to Europe, you're going to be paying more than that round trip.
Right. So, just to Europe more than
just
that
to
round
Europe.
trip.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know what the price is to
Right.
Maldives, so I'm not saying what that is. And Delta, of course, you pay infinity.
It would be more. Yes.
Just turn an 8 sideways. That's
Right.
how much the Delta price is.
It's so true. So true. And you also get, the Doha lounge experience, and the lounge in Doha, the business class lounge, is fantastic. So that's another great benefit there. So, okay, I think Q Suites is something that I think that might be towards the top of my list for a future return trip. I think that's something I would really...
that's sort of a sweet spot of like comfort and economical way to do it, right?
Right.
And also pretty easy to find award space.
Exactly.
So that combination is really good. I think you do need American Airlines miles, which right now transfer from Citibank. Otherwise, it's a little hard to get them, except through
the
American Airlines credit cards and flying American,
flying.
things like that. The old way of getting miles.
Right.
Another one I'd be excited to do. I've flown Singapore Suites. I've never flown Singapore business class, but their food, their service is such a high standard that I would think business class would be an amazing experience by itself. So I would be pretty excited to fly Singapore, even business class.
Totally agree. I've only flown Singapore's business class regionally between Australia and Singapore, but I've flown their first class also. But the business class, that's all I have. But the food was fantastic. The entire experience, the seat was terrific. So I would absolutely do that. And there's another one where, if we're talking about availability, Singapore makes more seats available to members of their own program. So if you're transferring to Singapore from Chase Ultimate Rewards or Amex Membership Rewards, then you will most likely have a much easier time finding that availability, especially in business class. First class is much harder, but in business class, there are typically seats available. So you should be in good shape with that. So that's a redemption that should hopefully be fairly easy and also pretty terrific. Of
So-
course, the long way to get there, though, if you're starting from like the East Coast of the United States, right?
Yeah, because you have to go through Singapore.
Right.
That's, yeah. Yeah.
Or the West Coast. Either way, you got to go through Singapore. So
Well, actually, you could go through Frankfurt, right? If you go from JFK.
well, right, that's true, perhaps.
But then it's
But then
a
you're
long
still
way
going to go through Singapore,
then you
right?
have to go through Singapore.
Yeah,
You're right.
So yeah, so that's taking the longer. You have to really enjoy Singapore. But I think that's a great point. That was the next one.
You have plenty of time to enjoy Singapore if you went through Frankfurt. Endlessly enjoying Singapore Airlines. But I'm actually getting kind of excited now about going back to the Maldives now that we're thinking about all these things.
Yeah,
Because these do sound pretty awesome.
Well, and in these cases, you're talking about a lot of flying in those luxury type situations.
Yeah.
Whereas, we flew Emirates between the Maldives and Dubai, so that was what, 4 hours, 5 hours?
4 hours.
Not 4 hours. Yeah, not enough time to fully appreciate and enjoy it.
Right.
When you're talking about 12 or 14 or 16 or 20 hours.
You get the full experience.
Exactly.
You get the whole, especially, this is one thing that I really like about a very good international first product is they'll make up your bed for you. Like with actual padding and sheets, the whole 9 yards, and usually like give you pajamas to change into, and it's a level of comfort that I don't think you get in any business class products, but I could be wrong. I certainly haven't gotten that in any business class products.
Right. No, I don't think you'll get a matched level of comfort that you will in international first. So, so that's a good point too. And there are lots of other ways. I mean, like Greg said at the beginning, if you're relatively new to the game and you're at the point where you're getting really excited about trying out different carriers with business class, there are lots of different options to do that reasonably too. So,
right.
There are other ways to get there. And I covered a bunch of those in the post too. We're just talking about the ones that would excite us enough to want to fly halfway around the world and take, again, a minimum of 3 flights to get there, because it is an arduous journey in the sense that there's a lot of time involved. So if I'm going to spend that much time getting there, I really want it to be a comfortable experience on the way there.
Right. It wouldn't be hard for a newbie to get enough points to do something amazing. So I'm thinking about Qatar Q suites. You said 70,000 each way. That's like one. So for one way, one American Airlines credit card sign up.
Right.
And you've got enough once
Cool.
you meet the minimum spend and all that.
Done.
Or as long as they have the transfer bonus available, the City Premier card, and then you could transfer those City points to American Airlines. That's currently only available through like something like November 13th. So
you'd have to get on that pretty
You'd have
quick
to do
because
that
you have
very
to meet
quickly.
the spend quick.
that's more of an example than a
Right.
suggestion.
Right.
So so a newbie could, even with that just one credit card, get halfway there, do another credit card made or fly a different product back, for example.
Right. So I mean that's quite easy, and that's a very good solid example. But another one to kind of fit the same bill is that Resi offer on the Platinum card. I mean, we've talked tons and tons about it, but my goodness, you could end up with 500,000 points on that offer and literally do any of the things we just talked about.
So the Emirates option wouldn't be that. Wouldn't be out of reach at all for
exactly.
you.
Exactly. So I mean, there are some opportunities there, I think, anyway, and strategies to go after. And if you're not going to go after the American and Q Suites option, then I think you want something like that Resi offer because, for example, if you did that, those membership rewards points, you could transfer to be able to book the Emirates flight. You could transfer to be able to book Singapore. What else we talk about? Lufthansa. You could transfer to Aeroplan anyway to book that if you wanted to. So there's an Aeroplan could get you Etihad. So those American Express membership rewards points would give you the option of finding availability with a number of the things we just talked about.
Yeah.
That flexibility is nice because then you have a greater chance of finding availability that fits your needs.
I'm going to suggest that if someone's just starting, start with just a good business class product instead of the best one.
That's true.
So that you'll be excited when you move up to
That's true.
Qatar Q Suites. And then you'll be excited when you move up from that to Emirates first. So
for sure.
You can go into that ladder because otherwise you're going to get jaded like us really quickly, and it's going to be hard to beat. Because I mean, we're on an amazing business class flight right now, which anyone who only flies economy would be thrilled to death to be on this type of flight. But we looked at it and we're like, yeah, right?
Well,
because
we flew the 787 last night, and
Yeah.
the seats were just much nicer.
yeah, the seats we have now are just, they're actually fine. It's
They're
just,
fine.
you know, it's not exciting once you get used to better.
Right.
So,
Right.
so go in stages, that way you could keep getting excited.
For sure. All right. So, I mean, I think that covers a lot of the different ways to get there.
One thing I'm still curious about,
Okay.
why haven't we talked about Cathay Pacific?
Oh, that's a great question, because Cathay Pacific would be an awesome way to get to the Maldives. And in fact, I flew to the Maldives on Cathay Pacific the first time that I went. So that was one of the first ones that came to mind.
Keeping a secret from us so that you can keep those award seats available. Huh?
Well, the award seats are not available at the moment.
Why not?
Because Cathay's not flying to the Maldives. They stopped. They cut that route. So they cut a bunch of routes in late 2020 because of the pandemic and reduced demand, and the Maldives was one of them. So they have said that they don't intend to restore that route until travel demand reaches pre-pandemic levels. So who knows if and when that's ever going to come back. So you could fly to Hong Kong on Cathay Pacific, but you're going to have to find another way to the Maldives from there, which...
Well, isn't it more like you can try to fly there, because they've
true.
cut a bunch of routes even
They
to
did.
the
They
U.S.
From the United States, they cut Seattle, they cut Newark. So absolutely, it's much harder these days, than it was.
Yeah. All right. So is that it? Is there anything else to cover?
I mean, I think that's mostly it. You know, I guess one other thing that that I'll address is, I'm sure that some people will ask, or maybe some readers with families would be curious anyway, what about kids? Would you bring kids to the Maldives?
Good question.
And so, I mean, your father, Greg, what do you think? Would you bring kids? Would you bring young kids to the Maldives?
You know, for me, well, first of all, I would not bring them and stay in an overwater villa, because that would be kind of terrifying. I mean, young kids.
Right.
It'd be too easy for them to run off the property. Now, we spoke to the general manager of the Le Meridian. He said he won't even allow kids in those overwater bungalows. So
he
that's
said
probably not an issue.
Kids under 4, they have to have a beach villa.
So if what excites you about being there is the overwater villa, then bringing kids obviously doesn't make sense unless you're at one that has them very well secured, which I'm sure there are ones.
I'm sure there are ones that do, but that's something to look into. When I went to Bora Bora in late 2019, I met a couple staying with a young child in an overwater bungalow, and they said the resort at the St. Regis Bora Bora had done something to kind of child-proof the bungalow in some way to make it safer for the kid. But like Greg said, they told us at Le Meridian that they wouldn't even allow it. So you're going to need to do a little bit of extra research if you've got young kids. And
then there's back to the length of the flight. I mean,
that's the key.
I wouldn't want to do it.
Right. And that's I guess my outlook on it at the moment is that you're talking at least 3 flights, and that's a lot of flight time with kids. So I don't know if I would go back with kids yet anyway.
Right.
Another consideration.
One last thing to discuss about whether it's worth going to the Maldives is what do you want to do activity-wise?
That's true.
Are you just interested in just lazing around and looking at beautiful views? Are you interested in snorkeling? Then Maldives is great for both of those things, I think. But what if you're more active? So my wife and I love hiking in mountainous areas. It's not mountainous there.
No.
So I think about activity-wise, there's a lot of places I'd actually prefer over the Maldives by quite a lot.
Well, and it's worth mentioning for people who aren't familiar that most of the hotels in the Maldives have their own islands. So you are on an island that is just that resort and nothing else.
Right.
And no ability to go to another island. So it's not like you can take a boat to a nearby island. Even if there is a nearby island, they don't allow travel to at this point anyway, because of the pandemic, they don't allow travel to and from other local islands like that. You can go and stay at another resort, but that's typically going to involve paying for the transfer back to the airport and then again to your next resort. So you're going to pay that seaplane fee twice if you want to do that. There aren't direct transfers hotel to hotel.
A lot of people do that. But
right. And that's true. But that's the way you do it. So, so that's not an option there. Whereas, for example, in Bora Bora, you could take a boat to the main island
Yeah.
and do some hikes and walk around. It's mountainous there. You could take a boat to another nearby resort and go out for dinner or something like that. And that's not an option for you in the Maldives, generally speaking. So,
Right.
so I think that is a good point, because at Le Méridien, for instance, snorkeling was fantastic. If you like snorkeling and you're a reasonably good swimmer, then there's a terrific reef.
Yep.
So very well worthwhile. A lot of fun. I could spend all day out there every day,
Yep.
and my back would have the burns to prove that.
Yeah.
But
my burns are starting to get itchy.
yeah,
now.
I
We're
know.
in the
I
next
get to that
phase.
point. Yeah, unfortunately, I hear you there. But anyway, so there's a lot of that, but there wasn't a lot of other activity to do. Now I think the resort is so new that they're going to work on some other entertainment and things, so there probably will be more and more things to do. But it's still going to be somewhat limited geographically, because you're on a very small island. There's not that much space. So if you're not really into getting in the water, getting on a boat, doing a little bit of sailing or that sort of thing, then it might not be the right experience for you.
Right.
On the flip side, if you do want to get in the water with beautiful tropical fish, it's an awesome place for that.
Right. And that I love that.
Me too.
Just,
Me too.
it's such a great experience if that's what you're.
It's like
into.
swimming in an aquarium. So if you ever wanted to be in the aquarium,
Yeah.
then it's a great place for you.
Right. Although this aquarium has fairly strong tides.
It does.
So
It
that's
does.
why
you have to be able
need
to
to be
swim.
a pretty strong swimmer, because you could go in one direction without any effort, but you generally have to go back in the other direction afterwards, and that could be
A little bit harder. Right. At least this time of year. It wasn't smooth and glassy all the time.
Right.
All right. I think that
Well, very
wraps
good.
that up.
No post roast this week, I don't think.
No post roast.
No.
I'm prepared with a post roast, but you know what? I'm going to hold on to it until next week.
Really?
I am.
Oh, you could roast me.
Okay, I can roast you. Okay, all right. So then, a little post roast here.
All
Greg
right.
Greg wrote a roundup of the Guk trip, the passing the Guk trip, and he went over a bunch of the stuff that happened. And the thing that stuck out at me, and not because it's a major thing, but it's because of what I wanted to roast, I guess, is he mentioned that the service at the Four Seasons in Abu Dhabi was okay. They didn't do anything to go above and beyond. And I'm going to say, what? All right, Greg clearly has forgotten that we had a lot of confusion about getting into Abu Dhabi. We didn't know exactly how that process was going to work and what we needed to do. And so for like the better part of a day, I was chatting in the Four Seasons app with reps at the Four Seasons Abu Dhabi who were answering patiently, I'll add, and quickly answering my questions about getting into Abu Dhabi. And then when it was clear that I still wasn't clear, they took the initiative to look up my phone number and my profile and call me. I didn't ask
even
them
realize
for that.
that.
Yeah, I didn't ask them for that call.
Okay.
They just took the
That's
initiative
very
to
good.
call
Yeah.
and try to help me get it figured out and sorted out.
Yeah.
And that's something I wouldn't expect if I was chatting with, I don't know, the Residence
Yeah.
Inn or whatever Marriott in the Marriott app that takes like an hour or two to get back to you.
Right.
The Four Seasons in Abu Dhabi was like almost instantaneous on responses and took the initiative to call. So I actually would give them a lot of credit for service.
Yeah.
Now,
Yeah.
I say that, and Greg's right. Like on property, it was like fine.
It was
fine.
what you'd expect with any like
Right. I mean, luxury.
medium high end, like
Right,
not even
exactly.
luxury.
Not even luxury. Medium. You're right. Medium.
And again, nothing bad about the service. It was all like good.
Right.
But I didn't get like I've read some like reviews where maybe Lucky from 1 Mile Time says that they're there lined up and ready to greet him by name because they know him.
It wasn't that.
There wasn't anything like that.
No, it wasn't like that. It wasn't like that. No,
Whereas
right.
the Meridian
was
like that.
Was like that.
They were lined up and they were greeting us. They took us back when we returned to the airport. They led us through, all the security and everything at the airport. Like personally, just one person assigned to the two of us because we were traveling together to make our way through the airport as if we were VIPs, and yet they appear to do that for everybody, and that was really amazing.
It was fantastic. So service there was top notch, and I'm glad that you touched on that because it really is the level of service you would expect at a higher end hotel.
Right, which is so cool.
It is awesome. Okay, so that was post roast. Question of the week is a question we're going to ask next week because I don't have the question of the week. So then, if you enjoyed what you were hearing today and you would like to find out more about it, all you got to do is go to frequentmiler.com/subscribe to get on our email list where you'll get either daily, weekly emails, up to you, instant emails, whatever it is you prefer. You get those posts right in your inbox. You can also follow us on social media. You can find us on Facebook and join our Frequent Miler Insiders Facebook group, or Twitter or Instagram, where we have been posting lots and lots of the pictures and stories from this trip. Thank you guys very much for being out there with us today, and we will see you again next week.
Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye.